But Ben, I'm a woodworker. I don't want to make a 3D printed thing. I know. I wanted us to start small. All right, so welcome to Woodworking, where we talk about woodworking adjacent fun. And this is episode 2 in my series on using Fusion 360 in the wood shop. Today, we're going to make a piece of casework, something that you actually might make in a wood shop. It's a simple piece, just a simple wall cabinet, but there's a lot of lessons to be learned, and a lot of the things that we did in the first episode with the mortising template will apply here. I'm going to repeat a lot of things. If you feel out of your element, go back to episode 1, and that should catch you up. So let's jump into Fusion. Blank slate, brand new project, unsaved project. I'm not even going to save this project because I just like doing these and throwing them away. I don't know. There's something like freeing about doing all of this work and then knowing you can replicate it and just getting rid of it. First off, as always, let's start with some parameters. And I really like to start off with basic width, height, depth from a known source. And the other day I went on Google and I just saw this random line drawing of a cabinet. And I thought those dimensions look like a good start. It looks like it's probably a upper cabinet in a kitchen or something, but it looks like a really good start. So let's use those dimensions. 30 wide, 36 tall, 12 deep. So let's dive in. All right, so I'm going to go up to the modify window and go to change parameters and make a new parameter. And I'm going to say height. And that was 36, new parameter. Width was 30. New parameter depth was 12. This is our starting point. We're going to make a sketch, go over here to create sketch. And last time we started looking down on the piece. This time we're making something real. So I want to look at the piece the way I would the built piece. So I'm going to go from the front plane and I'm going to zoom out a little bit and I'm going to hit R to get up a rectangle. And the rectangle is going to be height, tall, width, wide. And there we go. So there is the rectangle. And that's going to be the basis of our wall cabinet. So this is a pretty boring wall cabinet so far, but we need to start building it. And I think the best way of starting to build out a case is to define the 4 boards that would make up the case, right? So last time we did a thing where we selected everything and we offset to create that second wall. And that would be fine. The only problem is you have to add in the lines. And again, hitting L to get to the line tool. You have to add those lines in to make the actual boards. And that's fine. We could easily go with that. But that is making 4 lines. And that is the number of lines that you would need to make to just draw the boards in. So it's not worth it. But what is worth doing is going up to parameters. And we're going to make a new parameter and we're going to say case thickness. And we're going to use 3/4 inch stock. And there we go. So now I'm going to hit L to get the line tool again. And I'm just going to drop a line there. And I'll hit D to get the dimension tool. And we will make that case thickness wide. So there we go. There's our first board. So now I'm just going to draw in the other boards. This board is also case thickness wide. So we have 4 boards here and they are all the same width. I'm going to use the orbit tool or whatever to rotate us around and show some depth to this 2D drawing. But I'm going to hit escape to get back to the select tool and I'm going to select my 2 sideboards and hit E to extrude. And I'm going to go the depth with those and return. Now my sketch went away. So I'm going to bring that sketch back and I'm going to select the 2 top and bottom boards. And I'm going to hit E to extrude and I'm going to type in enough to get me depth. And if you look, all of a sudden, those 2 boards became one because that join function over here on the extrude tool is doing its thing. So we're going to go new body and hit OK. Over here in the browser, you can see we have 4 bodies, and that's 4 boards. So here's our case. And now I would really like for this case to act as one. Let's pretend we put those 4 boards together and we glued them up, and now they're like kind of one thing, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to, under unsaved, you should save and have the document there. But under there, I'm going to right click on it and hit new component. And then right here, it pops up new component. I'm just going to call this one case. Look, now all of a sudden it looks like everything's dissolved. That is because right now this case is selected. It thinks we're working on that case. And what we really need to do is we need to go back and go to an upper level, and we're going to work on the whole project. But what we're going to do too is we're going to select these 4 cases, or these 4 bodies, and we're just going to drag them into that case. So now this case contains those 4 bodies. Another thing to keep in mind is that anytime you create a sketch while a particular component is selected, that sketch resides inside that component. Right now with this project, we're going to have our sketches reside in the overall project, and our components will be just a grouping of bodies. There will be times in your Fusion 360 lifespan that you make components and they have sketches inside those components. We have this case, and since it's a component, I can hide it and show it, and it acts as one unit. But we want to make a door, right? So let's make 2 doors. I'm going to open up that sketch, and I am going to do a line right down the middle. Editing Ben here. Anytime you want to start a line in the middle of another line or circle or whatever, as you hover over that line with the line tool, you'll see it's an X. That's going to place it on the other line. But as you get to the middle, you see the triangle right there? That's right in the center then. It snaps to the center and locks it in. And let's say we do a frame and panel door. The styles are going to be a given size. So you kind of know where I'm going. I'm going to the parameters, and I'm going to make a parameter called style width. And let's say those are 2 inches. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to draw in one board, and we're going to draw in a second board. And we don't need this side of the board to be drawn in because it's just going to grab off the side of this case. And we're going to draw in a top board, and we're going to draw in a bottom board. And these sizes right now are all over the place, but you can see I made that bottom board extra wide. And that's because that's a very, very common thing. The bottom style on frame and panel doors are generally wider. But I'm going to go in and add some dimensions, and that's going to be the style width. And this bottom one, so we don't want it to be the style width. We want this one to be, why is that just selecting this? Interesting. I am going to get rid of that. I must have been talking while making that one and stopped or something. So here's the full one, and we want this one to be not the style width. So if it's a style width, it would just be 2 inches wide. We could easily do style width times 2, and now it's 4 inches wide. Or we could do style width times 1.6, which gets us an extra 3/5. So let's go style width and go 3 instead. Let's just make it exaggerated. Finish sketch, and look at that. This one is not reaching either. I'm sure when I'm editing, I will figure out what happened there. The sketch is all black, which means all of the measurements and all of the pieces are defined and constrained. Can't really move anything. That we're looking pretty good for parametric right now. Now, you might be tempted to draw in the second door, but it's just not worth it because we're going to learn a little bit. So let's do the same thing as we did with the case, and let's do the sides. And instead of join over here, I'm going to hit new component. And this component now is, we're going to rename it door. And now I'm going to select that component and let's do the top and the bottom, and we're going to extrude that too. And new body, because we've already made that component. So we have our case here and we have our door here, and I can switch between them, or I can show the whole thing by going to that top level view. Now, another thing that we need with the door is we need that center panel. And I'm going to click on this. Actually, I'm going to click on the door component, but I'm going to open up that sketch or show that sketch. And I'm going to extrude this door panel. I want that front of the door panel to be inset 1/4 inch. And I want the back to be flush with the back of the door. So it's going to be a rabbited door panel. And we're just going to have that front inset a little bit. But as you could see right now, if I extrude it, it is on the same plane as that door. So right here, next to start, you click on that and you've got offset plane. And I want to change that offset plane to 1/4 inch. Or I could do case thickness divided by 3. Most of the time I would just say 1/4 inch because I know that that's what it would be. But here's the deal. If you all of a sudden change the case thickness parameter, now all of a sudden all of the offsets are changing too. If you know that you want your offset to be 1/3 of the case, that's fine. You could just do this. Honestly, I know I want a 1/4 inch reveal. So I'm just going to stick with 1/4 inch reveal and make it easier. Now, instead of trying to extrude out 1/2 inch or something like that, I know I want the back to be flush with the back of the door. So instead of doing a distance and saying I want it to be 1/2 inch, I'm going to click over here on distance and I'm going to say to object. And the next thing I click is how far that gets extruded down. So I'm going to click on the back of that door frame. And instead of it joining, I want it to be a new body. And there we go. So now in our door component, we have 5 bodies. The 5th one, the last one that we made, is that panel. And if I get rid of all of the door frame elements, there we go. Now this, of course, is not how you would build it. We would put a groove in the door and we would put a rabbet in the panel, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Right now, we're just designing things. The next thing I need to do is I would really, really, really like to mirror this door panel. I don't want to remake this door because if I remake that door, anything I do to one door is not going to happen to the other door. I want to just duplicate it. I want to mirror it over. So there's a mirror command and it's in the create menu up here. I use it for sketches a lot. Inside a sketch, I will mirror something to get symmetry going. But what I'm going to do is I can mirror the body or I can mirror whole components. So I'm going to select components and I am going to select this door. And now I go to mirror plane. And this is where it gets a little weird. It wants to mirror off of a plane of something that exists, right? So I could select this side and that would mirror the door over there, right? If I click this plane, it mirrors it that way. If I click this side, nope, it mirrors it based off of that side. So that plane that I click is the pivot of that mirror, really. So what I really need to do is I need to make a plane that exists right in that middle. Making a plane or a construction plane comes up in a lot of modifiers and assemblies, and it comes up a lot in Fusion 360. So construct, and there's all of these options, and there's an offset plane, there's a plane at an angle, there's tangent planes, and there's a mid plane. And the mid plane I have found is super useful to me. So let's click on that. And all you got to do is you got to select 2 planes. And it's going to make a plane in the middle of those 2 planes. So I could have done the inside, but select the 2 outside planes and hit OK. And now I've got this yellow thing in the middle of my project. And sure, it might be useful, but it looks stupid. When you don't want to see it, you just over here in the browser, you could just turn off your construction planes or whatever. And there we are. So now let's take this door and I'm going to, you can select it and hit mirror, or you can hit mirror and then select it. But so I have selected it. It's set to components. I'm just going to click mirror plane and click that midpoint plane. And there we go. We have 2 doors that have been mirrored across that middle plane. I'm going to turn off that construction and boom, we're doing pretty good. We're doing really well. Let's see how we did with parameters. Let's see if we're fully parametric. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you mess with something and it just goes weird. So let's go 48 tall. And let's say the stiles are 3 inches wide. And let's go 18 deep. And let's go 26 wide. And now we have a totally different cabinet. If we want to go back to 2 inches on the stiles, there we go. If we wanted to go 48 wide and 32 deep, we broke it. We broke it. What broke? So let's explore. 48 wide, broke it. So what I'm going to do is let's go back to modify. And we're going to go to change parameters. And we're going to go 48 wide again. And boom, everything broke. So the top and bottom stiles are not happy somehow. So we're going to go back to our sketch. And yep, there's just something weird going on here. But this did not go the whole way. The bottom stile should have gone the whole way. So we redrew that top one. The bottom one is now back. What I think happened was when that top stile went away, that panel just exploded beyond its limits. So we've got a weird looking cabinet now, but I don't know, I could see building that. I think if I were going to build this, the stiles would be a lot more prominent. And now that's looking a little weird, but this, like up here's looking good, but this is too much. That's just too much. Let's try something. Let's make a new parameter. And we're going to say bottom stile. And that parameter is going to be, the expression value is going to be stile width. And I think stile width times 2. And now we go back into our sketch and we look. So that one was stile width times 3. So we could easily just say stile width times 2. There's a reason for this. I'm going to go bottom stile, and there we go. Now we're 8. And the reason why that is worth it to me is because from the same window, from that parameters window, you can now change this one, this bottom stile independently. If I wanted that one to be 1.5, I could. Oh, I did 15. I did 15. Let's undo that. Command Z. If I wanted this one to be 1.5, I could easily do that. I was really not expecting that to happen. So I like to have as many variables changeable from this window as possible. But this is looking like a really, really good cabinet, right? So I think that's a great place to end this episode. We've got a nice looking cabinet and all of our parameters are really working as we want them to work. In the next episode, we're going to add it back and a few more details to the cabinet, finish it off nicely. But first, I want to mention, I was talking to a friend of mine recently about Fusion 360 and parameters and how easy it is to change things up. And he had said something like, oh, it would be great to, go in there, do the major design changes, and then he likes to take a screenshot or a photo of something and put it on his iPad and trace over that and really use that as a launching pad for new ideas. And I think that like a model like this paired with that mentality of bringing it back into the real world and tracing and just trying things out real quick, what a powerful combination. So if this type of modeling is getting you excited, but there's a little bit of a hiccup because you're still figuring out the software, don't let that be a barrier right now, because you could very, very easily take all of this and then run with it in the old school method and really have the best of both worlds, where you're able to really dial in sizes and try things real quick, and then you can really focus on the details. So head on over to woodworking.com. You'll be able to download the Fusion 360 file that I made today, and there will also be a step-by-step PDF for you to download and print up or whatever you want to do. And of course, there's going to be step-by-step directions and key commands in the actual post itself. I hope these tutorials are getting you excited about Fusion 360 and demystifying the process and showing you just how powerful of a tool it can be. And we're going to keep doing it. We're going to do a bunch of stuff here at Woodworking. So thank you for checking it out, and I appreciate each and every one of you.